Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome back to the Onyx Tavern vlog series on Shuriken Sentai Ninninger. I'm your host, Rick the Barkeep, and today let's talk about Shinobi number 10, Yee-Haw, the Gold Star Ninja. Or, alternatively, Yee-Haw, the Gold Star Ninja. And you know what, folks? I was so tempted to go ahead and talk in this voice the entire review, but you know what? That would just be annoying to all you folks out there, concern it. So I'm just going to do my regular, normal voice, because I just can't keep that up. And yes, I know this is the worst southern accent out there, but I'm from Kentucky, and I have a right to do that. So, sorry about that. Okay, so let's actually talk about the actual episode here, which actually is going to be a more difficult thing to do than I anticipated. Because honestly, I'm going to spend more time talking about our newest character, Kenji, the Star Ninja, or Gold Ranger. I'll probably alternate between the two. And what I like and dislike about him, as opposed to really what happens in the episode. Because really what happens in the episode is your standard Six Ranger introduction fare. Mysterious Ranger shows up, doesn't work with the team. We find out who he is. He goes into battle solo, does all this cool stuff, and then by the end of it, you know, he's an antagonist to the team somehow. Not that he's a bad guy, but he's not working with the team, and it's going to take several episodes for him to actually join in with the team. So, because the plot is pretty much that straightforward, and you can really plug that into just about any other Six Ranger story within Sentai and Power Rangers, I'm not going to dwell on that too much, except for talking about how I don't particularly like what they're doing with this character, not to mention the character himself. Now, I also want to make the point, I am not going to be revisiting what I talked about in the StarNinger reveal video, because that was me just talking about the aesthetic design of the cowboy hat, the Zords, and so forth. This is going to be particularly on the character of Kenji and what I think about him, and of course that cowboy stuff's going to go ahead and play a big factor into it, but I'm not going to retread water. I'm just going to talk about the character himself. But something of the plot that I think is worth noting is that at the beginning of the episode, again, it's the cliffhanger from episode 9, where Kenji is attacking Grandfather, and okay, I like the mislead, but I don't like what it actually ended up becoming, because my thought was when I saw the end of it, and based on the other footage that we had, it led me to the conclusion that Kenji was seeking the finishing Shuriken. That was his end game, much like the villains and much like the Ninninger. They were all going to be after the same goal. And we were going to have 3 factions after the same goal, but different methodology. And it was kind of my thought that Kenji was going to find a way to be very aggressive in getting that, getting the finishing Shuriken, but didn't really care about who was in his way. Therefore, Grandfather would become a victim. So we would pit the Ninninger against Star Ninja, basically different ideologies to get the same goal. And as interesting as that may sound, that is not at all what ends up happening here. So let's talk about Kenji. Who is he? So Kenji turns out to be Japanese-American or American-Japanese, I'm not sure the proper term, but he's a Japanese person who was born in the United States. Grandfather, while traveling to the U.S., ran into him. Kenji just really got fascinated with him, enamored with him, if you will, and wanted to become a ninja. He wanted to be the last ninja. He wanted to be his pupil. But Grandfather basically wouldn't have it, and Kenji, follows him to Japan in an attempt to continue to, pester Grandfather in order for him to be a ninja. Now, the thing is, Grandfather had said, just as a way to get rid of him, is like, once you can take me down, then I will take you on as my pupil. So it's basically like, if you can hurt me and kill me, then I will go ahead and teach you. Which Grandfather didn't think he would follow through on this whole thing, but he did. Follows him to Japan. He somehow has these powers, which we'll talk about here in a second, and he's just really trying to prove his worth to the grandfather. Nothing malicious against him, no evil agenda or anything. He just wants to be a ninja despite his American roots, and he wants to prove that to him in the end. Now, a couple of good things we do get about him is that he is a capable fighter, and he fights Takaharu in this episode and some of the others, and the thing is that we've already established Takaharu is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than the other characters, and Takaharu can basically take on the enemy by himself if he needs to, which is part of the criticism we have. Now, typically when the 6th Ranger comes in, he's able to do all that and more because he's the 6th Ranger, typically more powerful. And that's the same thing that we have here with Kenji, and I don't find it as a problem because we had the same thing when Tommy came in, when Burai came in, when the Gold Ranger showed up to go on wings. It's the same thing. The 6th Ranger, 7th Ranger, whatever, they're always far more powerful than the core team of 5. And that's great because typically when they're brought in, they are going to be an antagonist of the team. Somehow they have to fight him. So the fact that he is more powerful than all of them and more powerful than the most powerful fighter, that gives a little bit of tension to the character. And his solo battles are pretty good. We know that he has a good heart. He saves the little girl and all that. And so it's really standard fare. Nothing too different, too unique in that particular sense. But what really bothers me about this character is the origin they gave him. Now, as many of you have pointed out in my previous videos, I had made the assumption, well, not the assumption, the speculation that the Gold Ranger here was going to be American, or white at least. And the reason I came to that was a number of factors, primarily because he's introduced speaking English, his entire costume screams Wild West, again, the morpher, the guitar, all that kind of stuff. And as Sentai has had in the past, they've had brought white actors into the show, and they brought Robert Baldwin in, Kyoryuger, to play Ramirez, who was white, spoke fluent English, French, Japanese, all that kind of stuff. So my real hope was that they would come in with a white actor who would speak English primarily, but of course would fight alongside the Ninninger, because to me, it just seemed like it would be that interesting dynamic of Japanese, American, and actually integrating an American character. Because we've had American characters in the past. Diane Martin comes to mind, but she was a Japanese actress, or excuse me, she was American, of course, Diane Martin was, but she was Japanese. We have yet to have a white American in the series, and Robert Baldwin is Canadian, just to clarify that. But the whole point I'm getting to is I did not imagine this person would actually be Japanese, because everything up to this point does not indicate that. And while a lot of you pointed that out that he was not Japanese before I saw this episode, I don't look at the spoilers. I don't go to the Ranger Wiki to look up that kind of stuff. I try to stay away from it. So up until really this episode appeared, I really did think he was going to go ahead and be a white Caucasian actor. But then we end up getting this Japanese guy, and there's nothing particularly wrong with that, except his backstory does not really match the actor, and of course his backstory has flaws to it, which we're going to get to. So, alright, let's talk about the backstory. Alright, so grandfather, among his tours and the great deeds that he has done, he went to the American Wild West. And while he was there, he met Kenji, who became enamored with him, wanted to go ahead and be his student and everything. And he basically, says to him, I'm not going to go ahead and teach you, but if you can go ahead and strike me down and whatnot, then I will go ahead and make you my student, is what it is. So Kenji's just, completely into this whole thing, somehow gains Ranger powers. I don't know how that worked exactly. Maybe that's further backstory we're going to go ahead and get. And then follows grandfather back to Japan. He has a run-in with the Ninja. And then, of course, by the end, he becomes antagonist with him, which I also take issue with. Now, here are some major points that I have with this. When, again, we got his introduction in episode 8 at the end. He's speaking English. Now, it is apparent off the bat that this person does not speak English as a native language. But Kenji in the series was born in America, in the Wild West. Now, barring any type of time travel, which I seriously doubt is going on right here, there is no Wild West in the United States anymore. I've lived in Montana for the last 4 years. It is not the Wild West. It is no longer the Wild West. It's not the 1880s anymore. It's modernized. It's, the American West, sure, but it's not cowboys and Clint Eastwood and Sergio Leone and all that kind of stuff. It's not that anymore. But the way Grandfather tells it sounds like he walked into a spaghetti western, which is odd. But what's even more odd is that in this Wild West, he runs into Kenji, who is Japanese but born in America, and yet his English is so flawed. I mean, the way he speaks English is just like, it's almost kind of cringing in a way. And I'm not saying anything against the actor or anything, but if you're going to sell this character as American, why didn't you get somebody that fluently spoke English? I mean, again, Robert Baldwin is a good example. He spoke perfect English, and if they wanted him to, he could have done that within Super Sentai. Diane Martin spoke perfect English, and I believe she did that in her appearance. The actor who played Ken from Geki Ranger also spoke perfect English. So we have these characters. We know there are Japanese actors out there because of the characters we have that can speak perfect English, but they happen to get the one Japanese actor who can't do it without any type of dialogue or with any type of dialect or inflection. So I find it odd that we have a character who's in the American Wild West, is Japanese, but supposed to speak English as his native language, and yet he can't do that well. That's the point I'm getting to. He is not selling us as American. I don't believe this guy is American. There was an old film called The Sea and Poison with Ken Watanabe, and there's a scene in that movie where they're going to do vivisections on American soldiers that were captured in the Pacific War. And they bring in the American soldiers, and they're white guys, but when you listen to them, they have Australian accents. And these guys are obviously not from California. The film insists they are. We have the same thing going on here. We have a person who's supposed to be from the American West, but he doesn't even sound like that. And yes, I understand they make him say Reckon and Consarnate and Yee-Haw and all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't make up for the fact that he is not American. And I'm not saying that he has to be American. You can make him Japanese and all that, but you have to sell us on the fact that he actually speaks like an American, which he does not. So that's a major issue that I have right there. Again, this Wild West kind of thing. Again, they show this image. It's a beautiful rendered image of the American West, and Grandfather's kind of dressed like a cowboy and all that. But again, barring time travel, America doesn't look like that anymore. And the way even Kenji is dressed, and I know the thing is, I've said this before and I'm going to say again, in recent Sentai, a lot of the characters are dressing like hipsters. And I don't know of any cowboy hipsters. Again, I've lived in Montana. I know hipsters. I know cowboys, but there's no combination of the two. And Kenji, I don't know anybody dresses like that. A leather hat and vest, that screams hipster to me. But beyond that, what also really gets me is what they're doing with his character. So we've already established that Cloud and Takaharu want to be the last ninja, that they're competing with each other. The other three, they want to live their lives and do other things, but also incorporate the ninja in there. Kenji is all about being the ninja, and I suspect what his storyline is going to go ahead and be is that because he was born in America, he feels that he is not connected to his Japanese roots. Therefore, he's attempting to regain his heritage through the act of being a ninja through the grandfather. Again, that's speculation on my point. That would seem like the logical thing to do, but Sentai in recent years has not really done the logical or expected thing, so I'm concerned whether or not that's going to go ahead and happen. But what also really infuriates me at the end is that Grandfather basically changes the deal with Kenji. He basically says to him, okay, you have to defeat my grandchildren, and if you do that, I will go ahead and make you a ninja. And then part of their training, the ninjas, is have to defeat Kenji. So basically what they have done here is they've said, you guys are all good friends, all that kind of stuff. Now fight against each other, because that's what I want to go ahead and happen. There are a few reasons not to trust the grandfather right now based on some dialogue and some questionable activity he's doing, but this to me seems rather questionable. This isn't Zordon saying, Jason, Tommy, you need to work together or you need to practice against each other. This isn't even like RJ or Master Shafu who are trying to get you to train to get better. There seems to be something malicious in what Grandfather is doing. Grandfather is really not interested in Kenji, it seems. And he just wants him to go away, and he wants him to go ahead and fight against his grandchildren, who I suppose he thinks is going to get rid of him, defeat him, and he'll give up on this endeavor, and looks at this as a good opportunity for them to fight somebody who's not a monster, and again, if they defeat him, he's out of his hair. But the thing is, it doesn't really come naturally from the story, I think, and it's where... The best way I can go ahead and put it is a lot of the 6 Rangers who have been bad guys or don't want to join the team have reasonable motivations, some more than others and all that. But the motivation to pit the Gold Ranger against the rest of our characters just seems very weak and contrived to get him off the team as long as possible. And then there's the episode where he finally decides to trust, or he's finally made a ninja, and then they work as a team together. I really hate those stories. If you're going to introduce a 6th Ranger, have him join, have him stay, have him go on from there. I mean, that's one of the best things about Tommy as the White Ranger, is that he came in, introduced as White Ranger, and was immediately part of the team, no questions asked. That's what I think they really need to go ahead and do in Sentai now, and this is just going to drag into a subplot that, again, is going to take away from the other characters, and something I'm just not particularly interested in at this point. So yeah, that's what we have in a nutshell. So going forward, Kenji's going to be fighting against the Ninninger so he can win Grandfather's approval, and the Ninninger, as part of the training, is going to go ahead and fight him. That's going to lead to some complications down the line. The character Kenji, I don't think, is a well-conceived one at this point. Maybe we'll learn more about his backstory that will change my mind, but again, what really comes down to me is that they wrote a character to where... They wrote a character and did not cast appropriately for that character, because I'm sure there are hundreds of Japanese American actors that are in Japan or could come to Japan and do this role that have a flawless English accent or English dialect, but they didn't do that. They gave it to a native Japanese speaker who doesn't really speak English that well. So, and that may be a nitpick for some of you guys, but to me, you wrote the character first, and you wrote him a Japanese born in America, living in the Wild West, and you couldn't even get somebody to sound like that. That's what I have an issue with. But that's about everything I have on this episode. But I'm really curious on what you guys think. Does this character rub you the wrong way? Do you have any issues with it? What do you think? Just leave me a comment below and let me know. Otherwise, I want to thank you all for listening. We will return with Shinobi number 11. And until then, the tavern is now closed.